Hello, this is Dylan Berry. Welcome to Music Industry Talks, where we take two cultures, the Danish culture and the Los Angeles, U.S. culture, and we talk about the music business in a hope to inspire and educate music makers and content creators and dream chasers. Okay, so today on the show, I've got Sue Drew, who is the GM of Creative at Kobalt Music Publishing. That is a very large, beautiful company, Kobalt. We have Mr. Nic Harcourt, who is the ultimate tastemaker, was on Morning Becomes Eclectic, hosts radio shows, top music supervisor. He's on the show. Trond Tornes from Norway, and Trond is holding it down with Noordrights, his new company. He worked at Phonofile as the CSO and has a wealth of knowledge in the music industry, and also repping both Norway, South Africa, and doing a lot of things that are beautiful in the music industry. All right, this is Music Industry Talks. Let's get into it. Let's just get into it. Trond, what's your life like right now besides really good, sitting on a boat?
Me personally, I've been really fine. I've been working from home. I used to be an artist like a long time ago, and the artists I know, they must be in a really bad place, not being able to connect with their audience in the way they most like to. And when I see the festivals not happening, I start thinking we're going to experience that in our part of the industry as well, but we have a responsibility, I think. In Africa, I've been working with a crew in Cape Town, in Durban, with a festival called Imbizo. I really recommend it. I've been so lucky to help them a bit out with their strategy for connecting with communities, and I brought NordicLA down. I brought Keith Harris, Stevie Wonder's manager, down, Christian of NordicLA has been there, and a lot of other people. And it's such a good music city for that part of South Africa, but also they bring in people from all over Africa. And an amazing thing there, I saw this very underground, this topic, techno-like music, develop into number one top hit music in 1.5 years. The dynamics there are amazing. So I really recommend everyone who's not connected yet with that scene to just go down and check it out.
Sue, in what you do you do a lot of international business as well? Are you tapped into the South African scene at all with Kobalt?
We have a couple of artists from South Africa. It's definitely a market that we're interested in and want to open up in. And we've had some conversations with people who have businesses there. But internationally, yes, I think that's what Kobalt's known for in general. We're all connected. We operate as one territory, one bottom line, one roster. So we kind of just look at the world as a small place. But yeah, the point of Kobalt was to open up the global markets and monetize for artists and songwriters. What are the biggest opportunities you see globally? I actually signed an artist who was born in India, but raised actually in Northern California. And he sort of has a dual career where he's massively successful in India because he was the voice in some Bollywood movies and he has a singing career there, but he's making his own beautiful records here. And I'm hoping that he crosses over globally using the Indian diaspora around the world, and then he can have fans in every territory. There's always been the scenario where an American band or artist can go over to the UK and make a name for themselves there and then come back here. And of course, Asia as well. Japan, China, people have huge careers over there, and they're not necessarily as big here in America. I don't think it's that calculated at this point. I think it really just depends on the individual artist. So Nic, I'll kick to you on that front. What do you see when you speak to so many different artists that they're saying is something that really excites them on a global level as a musician?
From the point of view of breaking artists, it's moved away from radio, although I do still have the opportunity to evangelize about artists that I come across that I want to share with the audience. But when I was doing that show, the early 2000s, the web was opening up and we took advantage of that. And as a result of being able to reach people globally in the early days of streaming radio, at least, we were able to have a much bigger impact than perhaps we would have done if we hadn't been able to, do that. If you wanted to discover something, it was our show. So we had the ears of producers, directors, writers, music supervisors. Things have changed quite substantially in the last 10 or dozen years since then. The conversations I have with people these days tend to be multi-dimensional conversations because, first of all, I manage an artist who is also my partner. And we've been digging in the indie trenches for the last 5 or 6 years. And it's hard work, no matter what name or, label legacy you might have. We've also been expanding out of just making music into DJing for her, because that's a way to make money and keep making music. It's a lot easier for an artist to grab a laptop and, travel around the world, or go to New York or Amsterdam or whatever, drop a set, make a couple of $1,000s, come home and put that into making music. One of the things that I've been finding through my work outside of radio, which has been consulting with independent artists and with corporations and brands, is artists really beginning to understand that they have a lot of opportunities to do work for themselves. Obviously with social media, Instagram and with Snapchat, and now obviously TikTok as well, that's where music is finding an audience. But I think, what we're finding is that using technology, using social media, trying to super serve a fan base, however big that is, it gives us the opportunity to not just go down the local venue in LA and play for 50 people or 100 people. We can do it globally.
I hear time and time again in interviewing music industry people, you have to almost be your own PR, your own marketing, your own production, your own content engine. I think when you look at all the different verticals, which definitely kick back to Trond and Sue to dig into those, the different revenue streams, you've got digital, you've got sales, right? Streaming, you've got things like you just mentioned, TikTok and other exposure points. You've got Twitch, where you can do a bit of both, right? You can actually get paid and have an exposure point. How in the world do you go and find all this revenue, and what is that revenue?
I think when Kobalt first started was to hasten the pipes, make everything happen a lot quicker. And so then when you have the technology and you can actually integrate with these other resources, then you're able to, get your money faster. So, going direct to all the societies around the world, that's huge, because it doesn't then take a stop at a sub-publisher, take a stop back at the PRO of the local writer, and then go to the publisher, and then go to the writer. We're living in a very fast world, so we got to do it. And it's paying people promptly. I mean, if you're a publisher, we pay people 4 times a year. That's not the standard.
And to put that into perspective, when something hits television, right, you register it, you don't usually get paid for 9 months if it tracks in that quarter. And if it's right at the beginning of that quarter, misses it, you got to wait another. So it might be a year till you get first paycheck domestically. If you license something in America, it airs in America and then it airs in the UK, it might be 3 years till you get that first paycheck. So the issue is, how do you get that money sooner? Because, if you're an artist who's 20 years old, you're going to be 23 before you get paid. And it's like, how do you fund and keep funding your own business so that you can grow it? So what ends up happening is they go fastly in debt to labels, and they're way behind the ball. So what I'm hearing is that both Noordrights and Kobalt are making steps to get that delay tighter. Right. And that's really the race in that side of the business, right? Is who can make that the tightest, the most efficient, and the most accurate.
And that's the whole technology side of the business. The music business needs to embrace technology and encourage it, because it promotes payments.
Before on panels, it used to be like, how should we talk about technology in the music industry? And then I think now we realize that it's like finance and economy. It's all part of the core of the business. We need to look at it as a tech business also.
And the good thing about technology is it can now communicate, and there's more open APIs, and there's more ways where it can be efficient. It's not dependent on somebody sitting in an office going through paperwork. It can link directly to their technology, which creates some transparency, I think, finally, in the music business. Nic, I want to know a little bit more about your opinion on radio. You said earlier that it isn't as important as it used to be. I would say that it's true in pragmatic sense, but also there's a lot of evolutions to radio.
Radio is still important. It's a part of the puzzle. But from the point of view of exposing and breaking new artists, clearly it's not as important as it was, because you can go to Spotify's New Music Friday and boom, you've got everything there at your fingertips. I work in public radio, which obviously here in the States is not quite what public radio is in Europe. We are listener supported. We have to ask our listeners to give us money to fund the radio station. Radio in general in the last year here in the States, there's a lot of jobs disappeared in radio in the last 3 months, let alone the last year. In order to survive, you have to serve your audience. So you have to be local and global at the same time. We're a Los Angeles radio station. We need to serve Los Angeles. We need to support local music. We need to support independent music. And that's what we try to do. But I think that the radio stations that will survive are the radio stations who recognize, like we did at KCRW with Morning Becomes Eclectic 15 years ago, that you have to become a multimedia operation. You can't just be a radio station with a twig, an antenna sending out a signal to your area. You have to get into producing content. You know, one of the things we did on Morning Becomes Eclectic, literally like 15 years ago, was become the first radio station anywhere to broadcast video of live sessions. Pretty much every radio station in my world does that. So you create content that you can then put up on your YouTube channel, you can put it up on your website, you can take interviews that you've done and sessions that you've done and create podcasts. So radio has to understand, the same as you guys were just talking about, public performing rights societies, you have to use the technology and take it to as many people as you can. So from the point of view of encouraging artists, we feel that it's our responsibility as a public radio station in Los Angeles to support local talent. And we do it however we can, by a local music show, by having local music throughout our program. We're trying, and we operate on very low budget. This is a small radio station, but we try to be responsible to our community and to sort of dial it back to everything that I was just starting off at the beginning of the conversation. For radio to survive, terrestrial radio, it has to serve its community, however that is.
When you build those exposure ecosystems, they scale out. And the other good thing is, then there's something to collect on because there's digital content, and the Kobalts and the Noordrights can go in there and actually claim revenue for the artists as well.
In our industry, it's I don't know the exact number, but maybe it's like 40,000 songs uploaded every day to streaming services. And in this jungle, they're so important that we have voices like Nic has here with the radio show and the curation they do around it, because then you can actually tap into that and you can get some highlights into artists and producers, and you can start digging down on things you like. So it's the curational element is I really love that is outside the streaming services, that we can see that from someone who's just there for the music.
I do love having curation, a tastemaker who you have grown to appreciate, introducing you to music. I mean, that's huge. I see New Music Friday every week, and I just look at it and go, oh my God, what is all this stuff? And what does it mean in the world? I mean, it's business, of course, but I like something a little more handpicked, just like I'd rather go into a little boutique and buy my clothes.
Hats off to those that really did the work and put in the work and made good music, and those who, like Nic, curate it, because we need that. Okay. This is the Music Industry Talks. Thank you all for joining us. I have Trond Tornes out on a boat somewhere in Norway, Sue Drew, and Mr. Nic Harcourt. And I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you so much for lending me your time and everything and giving us the real scoop. Appreciate it. Until next time.